Our history goes back almost 3 decades, and it includes a friendship, it includes co-authoring a book, and also we team taught a doctoral course in the days when Fuller was a part of Tyndale's relationship.
I met Gary in 2005, I think, when I first started working here. I was a student at U of T, and so I worked here part-time.
But how I actually met him first was in 2001. We had a joint transition national staff conference at the InterVarsity, and he was one of the speakers with Marva Dawn.
So one of the questions I'm being asked is, who is Gary Nelson? And probably the people who can answer that the best are the people who are my friends and the people that I've worked with.
I always think about Gary as someone who's approachable. You're not around him very long without having something to smile about.
Gary's very warm. He's very friendly, will come up to you.
The staff loved him. He was engaging. He could open the word. He was vulnerable.
Big, passionate, excited, excitable, contagious, directed, and directive.
And he has an intense interest in both people and culture.
He's very inclusive of people. If there's, say you're sitting around a table and there's some things are being talked about, and Gary will be able to include people that aren't being included, which I think is a very valuable quality.
One of the things you need to know about me is that I'm a Western Canadian. Western Canadians tend to be maybe a little bit more casual. Change comes a lot easier for us because something that's old can be only 100 years old in Western Canada.
Well, one of the good things about Gary is that he has history that is marked with achievement. So he is someone who knows what it is to work alongside people. He's big enough that it's not necessary for life just to revolve around him.
He is a man of vision. He has strategy, but he's collaborative. He draws people in, but he will make a decision.
He's very articulate. He's insightful, and he speaks clearly and passionately about just about anything.
I think as a Western Canadian, and my experience was shaped. Show me the landscape that you grew up in, and I'll show you the shape of your soul. And I come alive in the possibilities of newness and the things God wants to do, not just in the past, but in the present and the future.
It's really important to see Gary as a progressive thinker who is not going to be content with the status quo. That means that Tyndale's history is going to find some new pathways.
Tyndale is a complex place. You've got a seminary, you've got a university, and you've got constituency. That means you've got a variety of audiences that have to be integrated. And I think the thing that Gary can bring to that is that he has a great capacity to hold a lot of complexity together.
About 8 months before my wife Heather and I left France, the school where I was the principal was going through a very difficult time and really at its wit's end, and there was a lot of problem with the property that we owned. There was issues pertaining to the governance of the school, division within the academic team at the school, people having different agendas, and independent-minded professors pulling the cover in different directions. And I talked to Gary about some of the issues that I was facing, and it was really an issue of leadership. And Gary said, "When's your next meeting?" And I said, "Well, actually, we have an important board meeting next Thursday." And this would have been maybe on a Monday or a Tuesday. We were having this conversation. So it was 8 days later. And he said, "Just a second." And he came back on the phone and he said, "I'll be there." He said, "I'll fly over. I'll be at that board meeting." He said, "I think in a situation like this, you need someone who can stand up and vouch for your integrity and for your skills." And he said it probably would be better that it comes from someone in Canada. And he said, I'll come over and I'll come to that meeting, and I'll be there by your side. And I thought, that is unbelievable.